The Tale of Despereaux, Chapter 49. What do you want, Miggery sow? Again, reader, we must go backward before we go forward. We must consider for a moment what had occurred with the rat and the serving girl and the princess down in the dungeon before Despereaux made his way to them. What happened was this. Despereaux led the P and Mig deep into the dungeon to a hidden chamber, and there he directed Mig to put the princess in chains. "Gore," said Mig. "She's going to have a hard time learning her lessons if she's all chained up like." "Do as I say," said Despereaux. "Maybe," said Mig. "Before I lock her up, her and me could switch outfits so we could start in already with her being me and me being a princess." "Oh, yes," said Despereaux. "Certainly, a wonderful idea. Miss Miggery Princess, take off your crown and give it to the serving girl." The P sighed and took off her crown and handed it to Mig, and Mig put it on, and it slid immediately right down her small head and came to rest, quite painfully, on her poor abused ears. "It's a biggish thing," she said, "and painful like." "Well, well," said Despereaux. "How do I look?" said Meg, smiling at him. "Ridiculous," he said. "Laughable." Meg stood, blinking back tears. "You mean I don't look like a princess?" she said to the rat. "I mean," said Despereaux, "you will never look like a princess. No matter how big a crown you put on your tiny head, you look exactly like the fool that you are, and always will be. Now make yourself useful and chain the princess up. Dress up time's over." Meg sniffed and wiped at her eyes, and then bent to look at the pile of chains and locks on the floor. "And now, princess," he said, "I'm afraid that the time for your truth has arrived. I will now tell you what your future holds. As you consigned me to darkness, so I consign you, too, to a life spent in this dungeon." Meg looked up. "Ain't she going upwards to be a serving maid?" "No," said Despereaux. "Ain't I going to be a princess, then?" "No," said Despereaux. "But I want to be a princess." "No one," said Despereaux, "cares what you want." As you know, reader, Miggery sow had heard this sentiment expressed many times in her short life, but now in the dungeon it hit her full force. The rat was right. No one cared what she wanted. No one had ever cared. And perhaps worst of all, no one ever would care. "I want!" cried Meg. "Shh!" said the princess. "Shut up!" said the rat. "I want!" sobbed Meg. "I want! "What do you want, Meg?" the princess said softly. "Eh?" shouted Meg. "What do you want, Miggery sow?" the princess shouted. "Don't ask her that," said Despereaux. "Shut up! Shut up!" But it was too late. The words had been said. The question at last had been asked. The world stopped spinning, and all of creation held its breath, waiting to hear what it was that Miggery sow wanted. "I want," said Meg. "Yes?" shouted the P. "I want my ma!" cried Meg into the silent, waiting world. "I want my ma!" "Oh," said the princess. She held out her hand to Meg. Meg took hold of it. "I want my mother, too," said the princess softly, and she squeezed Meg's hand. "Stop it!" shouted Despereaux. "Chain her up! Chain her up!" "Gore!" said Meg. "I ain't going to do it. You can't make me do it. I got the knife, don't I?" She took the knife and held it up. "If you have any sense at all," said Despereaux, "and I heartily doubt that you do, you will not use that instrument on me. Without me, you will never find your way out of the dungeon, and you will starve to death here. Or worse." "Gore!" said Meg. "Then lead us out now, or I will chop you up into little rat bits." "No," said Despereaux. princess shall stay here in the darkness, and you, Mig, will stay with her." "But I want to go upstairs," said Mig. "I'm afraid that we are stuck here, Mig," shouted the princess, "unless the rat has a change of heart and decides to let us out." "There will be no changes of heart," said Despereaux. "None." "Gore," said Mig. She lowered the knife. And so the rat and the princess and the serving girls sat together in the dungeon as, outside the castle, the sun rose, and moved through the sky and sank to the earth again, and night fell. They sat there together until the candle had burned out and another one had to be lit. They sat together in the dungeon. They sat, and they sat, and they sat. And reader, truthfully, they might be sitting there still, if a mouse had not arrived.